Should you start a local lead generation business in 2026? Before you copy a business model from a thumbnail, understand how local lead gen works in practice. Money Machines maps the full economics. Illustrative estimates only, not financial, legal, tax, or investment advice. Local lead generation, in the rank and rent sense, means building a single simple website, or optimizing a Google business profile, targeting one service niche in one city, for example, an emergency plumber page for one metro, ranking it in Google's organic or Maps results, and then selling the resulting calls or form fill leads to one exclusive local contractor, typically for a flat monthly fee. This differs from a portfolio lead gen site's business or a local SEO agency. The operator here owns the traffic-generating asset outright and rents access to the leads it produces, rather than being paid a retainer to manage someone else's marketing or diversify across many niche assets. The rank and rent model differs from a portfolio SEO business or an agency. The operator owns the traffic-generating asset, a website or Google business profile, outright and rents access to the leads it produces to a single exclusive local buyer, rather than being paid a retainer to manage someone else's marketing. Vertical selection drives the entire economic case. Emergency or high-ticket trades, plumbing, roofing, water damage restoration, garage door repair, support higher monthly rental fees or per lead prices than lower-ticket or non-urgent services, because a single converted lead is worth far more to the buyer. Google Business Profile Optimization, reviews, photos, categories, service area accuracy, often matters as much as traditional website SEO for local map pack visibility, especially for service area businesses without a public storefront address. Before evaluating income potential, identify who pays, for what outcome, and why they choose this provider over alternatives. Once ranked, a single site or Google Business Profile listing is commonly sold to one exclusive contractor buyer for a flat monthly fee, Illustrative $500 to $3,000 monthly depending on the vertical's lead value. Emergency services like plumbing, roofing, and water damage command more than lower-ticket niches like lawn care. Pay-per-lead or pay-per-call arrangements are an alternative to flat-fee rental, with illustrative per-lead prices of $20 to $150 or more depending on the trade. A handful of well-ranked local pages in high-value trades can produce meaningful monthly income, but each one requires its own ranking effort and its own buyer relationship. There is no single site that generates income from multiple owners simultaneously. Flat monthly rental arrangements give the site owner predictable recurring revenue and shift the sales conversation to a fixed retainer rather than negotiating per lead pricing every month, but require the buyer to trust that lead volume stays consistent. Inconsistent lead flow is a common reason buyers churn or renegotiate down. Pay-per-lead pricing scales revenue with actual lead volume and can outperform a flat rental during high-demand seasons, for example storm-related roofing leads, but introduces revenue volatility and requires reliable lead tracking and attribution to bill accurately and maintain buyer trust. A small number of well-ranked pages in high-value emergency trades can produce more revenue than a larger number of pages in low-value niches. Quality and vertical selection matter more than sheer number of ranked sites for this single buyer per site model. Compare gross revenue to net cash flow, they are not the same. Startup cost range, illustrative $500 to $3,000 per site/niche to build and begin ranking, 6-12 plus months before meaningful lead volume. Startup cost per site/niche combination is commonly estimated at $500 to $3,000, covering a simple website, local citations, Google Business Profile optimization, and initial content, with paid link building or aggressive SEO tactics adding more. The real cost is time. Ranking a new local page for a competitive trade commonly takes 6 to 12 months of consistent SEO work before it generates meaningful call volume, during which there is no revenue. Once ranked, ongoing costs are relatively low: hosting, occasional content updates, call tracking software, but finding and retaining a contractor willing to pay consistently for leads is an ongoing sales and account management cost that doesn't show up in passive income framing. Margin pressure: high margin once ranked and sold, nearly all revenue is profit, but zero revenue until both ranking and a paying buyer exist. Owner labor is frequently the largest hidden cost. Value your time at a realistic hourly rate. Call tracking software is a near mandatory cost once a buyer relationship exists, since the buyer needs proof of lead volume and quality to justify continued payment. This is a small recurring cost but an important credibility tool in the sales relationship. SEO effort for a competitive local trade in a mid-size or larger city commonly requires sustained content, citation building, and review generation work over 6 to 12 months before ranking is strong enough to produce consistent leads. That's unpaid time investment with no guaranteed outcome. Aggressive link building tactics can accelerate ranking but carry real risk of triggering a Google penalty if done carelessly. The safer, slower path, genuine local citations, reviews, on-page optimization, takes longer but reduces the risk of losing rankings entirely. The most common failure is treating this as a technical SEO project and ignoring the sales side. A perfectly ranked page generates zero income until a contractor agrees to pay for the leads, and that requires cold outreach, trust building, and often a free trial period before anyone signs a paying agreement. Google algorithm updates can demote a ranked page overnight, especially for pages built primarily to capture leads rather than provide genuine content value, wiping out months of ranking work. Contractors also churn. A buyer who gets a slow week of leads may cancel, and replacing that relationship takes time even if the underlying rankings are intact. Key failure points: no buyer despite good rankings, algorithm demotion, contractor churn, underestimating 6 to 12 month ranking timeline. Hype content optimizes for clicks, operators optimize for contribution margin and cash runway. A perfectly ranked page produces zero revenue without a paying buyer. Many practitioners underestimate how much cold outreach and relationship building it takes to convince a contractor to pay monthly for leads from a source they don't fully understand or control. Google algorithm updates specifically targeting low-value or purely lead capture-focused pages can demote rankings built primarily for lead generation rather than genuine informational value, which can wipe out months of ranking work with no warning. Buyer churn is a recurring risk. A contractor who receives a slow week of leads may cancel even if the underlying rankings and long-term average are solid, and replacing that buyer relationship takes time even when the site itself keeps ranking well. Verdict on local lead gen: moderate. SEO/GBP skills are learnable, but closing and retaining a paying contractor is the harder, less taught skill. Startup cost: low medium scalability, medium automation, medium risk, medium high beginner, moderate verdict. Work site by site as an active sales plus SEO business, not passive digital real estate. Do the spreadsheet for your market. Run a small test before scaling. Local lead gen can work site by site as a combined SEO and sales business, but it's not the fully passive, digital real estate pitch. Closing and retaining a paying buyer is as important as the ranking work itself. Before building a second site, prove the full loop on one, rank it, land a paying buyer, and retain them for at least 3 to 6 months. That validates the model before you scale the SEO workload. Subscribe to Money Machines for more hype versus reality breakdowns. Educational content only. Illustrative estimates. Not financial, legal, tax, or investment advice.